Welcome to Start Lines and Swag Bags, presented by the Flying Pig Project. The use of this podcast is for entertainment purposes only and should not be considered as running or health advice. This podcast is not intended to replace any professional medical advice. Thank you for your support.
Hello, and welcome to this Sunday's version of Start Lines and Swag Bags. Here's the first thing I want to tell you about today. You know how they say nothing new on race day? I mean, that's the number one piece of advice that I give to everybody. But apparently, I'm not translating that to my podcasting very well, because every sit down I've had with someone, I'm trying new programs, trying new systems, new microphones to see what produces the best quality, because it really is, you try it, you learn from it, you try it, you learn from it. And the person I was recording with today got to experience the recording stopping midway because the drive on my computer was completely full. So the computer refused to record anymore. Ain't that great? So I did make the joke, start a podcast. It'll be easy. It is not easy. There is so much that goes into the technology aspect of it. I don't know. I don't know. Anyway, tonight is Sunday. Today is Sunday. And first, let's talk about the podcast that dropped Thursday, because we had the special Thursday drop. It was Marty, my editor, Liz and his wife, and the Spork. Now, if you haven't listened yet, you don't know what the Spork is, and I'm not giving it away. But these podcasts are all audio and video. And then I try to make sure you can see in pictures whatever maybe a guest is showing, like a medal or a shirt, because sometimes people don't watch. That episode, I can only tell you, you have to watch it, because the facial expressions that are going on between Marty and Liz are absolutely, there's no words. And when we're talking about the worst swag, which is still Nicole's being measured, the look on Liz's face, I'm not sure her eyes could have popped out of her head any further. So please do go back. Even if you listen to it, just watch it a little bit, because it's fabulous. Okay, so last week I reviewed the USOL races and the Viking Trail Dash. Now, I wanted to bring a guest on to announce the winner, and so I sat down. I was fortunate enough to sit down with Joel Feinberg, who is actually the race director, owner, guru of Universal Soul, which is all the races I talked about, that's the people who put them on. And he and I sat down and had a talk, which lasted so long. And we were swinging names at each other that we knew in common, places we knew in common, races. By the time I was done recording with him, the recording was so long that it had to be its own episode. But I will share with you right now the revealing of who was going on in the bracket. All right, if you're wondering why I'm sitting here shaking my head, it's because I am heartbroken that in the disaster of me filling my hard drive and trying to resolve issues today with the computer, I have lost the recordings of 2 unedited podcasts, and one of them was Joel. Now, fortunately, I am 100% sure that I'm going to get him back to re-record the episode. But again, this isn't easy, and the feeling that I have in my stomach about having to tell someone I have to, borrow more of their time because I value everybody's time is really crushing right now. That being said, obviously, if I was having Joel from USOL on the pod, that's the races that are moving ahead. The little 3-pack, the 4-mile classic, and the other trail races I did, that whole pack moves ahead. And I did tell Joel that in the next round, USOL is actually going up against Snow Fun Run. So I don't know what's going to happen there. But I have 2 brand new races that I'm going to talk about tonight. I am comparing, or not comparing, but this round is the Garmin Half Marathon in Olathe, Kansas, and the Cellcom Green Bay Marathon in Green Bay. So I want to keep you listening, so I'm going to do Garmin first because I'm afraid a lot of you heard Green Bay and you just shut me off right there. So first, let's talk about the Garmin. Now, I did this one in 2018, and how I came to do this is really quite a story. There was a documentary many, many, many years ago, and it was called From Fat to Finish Line. And a group of 12 people did a Ragnar, but it was all about self-discovery and weight loss and just changing your life for the better. They all had their own individual reasons why they were on this journey, but these 12 people who didn't know each other got together to do this Ragnar. And one of the people in that documentary, his name was Rick. And there was a couple of years where that Facebook group was very active, but I had also become friends with some of the people that were in the documentary. And Rick was one of them. And I'm not sure how it came to be. I think somebody may just have posted in that Facebook group about going to Kansas. Now, if you know me, I'm not really like a out-of-the-box type person. But for this half marathon, I actually got into the car with Rick, who I'd never met, with Greta from Milwaukee, who I never met, and Melissa from Iowa, that I never met. And the 4 of us went from, actually they came from Wisconsin, they came and got me. We drove all the way to Iowa, and then to pick up Melissa, and then we went to Kansas. And I'm trying to remember where we stayed. I don't know, but we met up with Megan and Annie and some other people. I don't remember everyone. I'll have to try and find the pictures. And it was this fairly large group. I think there may actually have been 10 or 15 of us that were doing this Garmin half marathon. And what I remember most, one of the things is the first day we got there, we had the best damn barbecue I have ever had. I don't know where it was. I don't know what town, but it was barbecue. I remember that. I also remember that, I think it was Annie, she opened up her house to like all the group to come in and just hang out and talk to each other and meet each other. And again, I didn't know a single person. I was the only one who came. Okay, I know you can see Morty biting me, so let me get rid of him. I was the only one who came from, Chicago. So it was a whole new group of people. Everybody should be shocked that I did that. We went to, the motherland, Garmin headquarters, because it is the Garmin Half Marathon, to pick up our packet. And I don't know if it's always been a land of Oz, like OZ, like the Wizard of Oz, theme. I know I've tracked it for a few years and it has been the Wizard of Oz theme. But that particular year, it was the Dorothy year. And so you go to the expo and they have all the Wizard of Oz characters. And I mean, I happen to love Dorothy and the Wizard of Oz and that whole thing. And it was just such an amazing theme for a race. I really wish I had gone back the year they had the Tin Man medal, because that would have been cool. But when you actually ran the race along the course, this was classic. There were flying monkeys on the course to tell you, little, stick in the mud flying monkeys, to tell you what path you should take. You had to follow the flying monkeys. So the whole thing was Wizard of Oz themed, and the whole day was just wonderful. It's interesting that the races I'm going to compare it to, I had done before the Garmin. The Garmin, at that point, I had finally actually hit the 3-hour half marathon point. I ran it in 3 hours and 53 seconds. So I had finally gotten that close to beating sub 3 for a half. What else do I remember about that? It was, it was a once in a lifetime experience. When I talk about, favorite races and which one would you want to do again, I would love to relive that weekend with those people. The drive, even though it was a long drive. But with people you don't know, you always have something to talk about. Okay. I mean, there's not a lot of story behind it, but it was such a magical few days. The swag, I can't with the swag on this one. So this is the shirt, and I'll describe it for those of you listening. So on the front, you have the word Oz, but it's made to look like Dorothy with her little red shoes. And on the back, it's, just the sponsors. And it's actually a really nice, lightweight fitting shirt. Love that. But I have to show you, I would go every year to this race for the medal. Okay, so this is the medal that I got that year. And for those of you listening, it is actually a ruby slipper. And it's a good sized medal. It's about, maybe 4 inches across with, the band that says Garmin, Olathe, Kansas, April 21st, 2018. And the interesting thing about this medal, which my camera doesn't want to focus on, there were 3 races. It was the 5K, the half, and the full. And the medals were all the same. Obviously, the number on the medal is different, but they also got larger. So if you did the marathon, you got the big ruby slipper. And if you did the 5K, you got the itty-bitty little slipper. All right, so that's Olathe, Kansas. Don't hang up. Green Bay. Okay. I cannot tell you. I joke that I'm a Packers fan, because I am a Packers fan, but I love sports teams, not necessarily because of their success. I mean, I'm from Chicago, for goodness sakes. But I love the history of the Packers and Lambeau Field. I love how on any given day, I can drive, park in the parking lot of Lambeau Field with no problem, go inside, go into the atrium, sit at Curly's Pub, have a beer. It's such a warm and friendly place to go. I have never done the Soldier Field 10-miler where you actually stop or you end on Soldiers Field. And it's not because of a feeling I have about the Bears, which is a whole other podcast. But it's so inconvenient to get down there and the parking and all that. And in Green Bay, they make it so easy. Okay, I did that race technically 3 times. Now, I realized when I went back into my race log, that it may have been my second, third, and fourth half marathons, with the Flying Pig being the first. And in 2015, when I did the half marathon, it was the first time that I ever DNF'd a race. And I remember it was a warm day, and I was still really new to running in 2015. I had only been running for, I think, 2 years. I was horribly dressed. I was not dressed properly. I remember I had like dark long pants on, and it was a warmer day. The conditions weren't great. I was not ready to do it, and I ended up in a golf cart in the med tent, ice packs, the whole thing. And I'm happy to say that was the first and only time that I have ever been in a med tent. It's not the first and only time I have DNF'd, but, having that happen so early in my running, especially being a back of the packer, and, that's funny, back of the packer, Green Bay Packer. Okay. Anyway, be nice. It's been a really rough day. To come back from that, I think, is a challenge. Now, I was doing all these races with my friend Heidi, and we did so many races together. I would do the half and she would do the full. And so the next year, absolutely, I signed up. And in 2016, I went back, actually took 30 minutes off of my time from the Flying Pig. And in 2017, went back and took another 20 minutes off my time. When you are someone who runs a 3:15, a 3:30 half, in a year's time, you can make that much progress on your time. It's much different if you are a 2-hour half marathoner or a 1:45 half marathoner. You're not going to get that huge, big time PR like I did with those races. Now, I'm going to talk about the races themselves. They're fairly boring. Well, I'll start with this. So we stayed at a hotel by the stadium for all 3 races. And you get up race morning and you drive 10 minutes and you park at Lambeau Field. And you start at Lambeau Field. I mean, it's so easy. You start right in front on Lambeau Drive and you go. And you go around the neighborhood. I mean, it's a fairly boring course until you get to the last, I want to say it's like half mile of the race. And it doesn't matter if you did the half or the full. It's the same thing. You are diverted into Lambeau Field itself. You go down. They take you through the cheer tunnel, and even if you're not like a Packer fan, if you've ever done a tour of Lambeau Field, that cheer tunnel is amazing because it's all the noise. And then you get to actually run a lap around Lambeau Field. Now, I've done it 3 times, 2 with a half marathon and 1 with a 5K. I always am just in awe when I'm able to do that. I'm not a person who goes to a lot of like live sporting events and all that. And I think being able to actually be in the stadium for that is the coolest thing ever. It's so funny because you see people running through it at full speed because they're doing their marathons for time. And I'm one of those people who, I think when I did the 5K in 2021, I had my phone on the whole time. I was filming the whole experience of going through Lambeau because it was just, it's so different. You're up on the Jumbotron. Those of you who have done, maybe I think it's Champaign or Soldier Field or other races where you do see yourself on this big Jumbotron. It's such an amazing experience. Who sees that every day? And then you come out and you cross the finish and you're done. But there's something about running around that field. First of all, it's very corded off. like, do not step on the grass. And there is a little bit of jockeying for position because when someone like me finally gets to the stadium, the marathoners are also finishing. So you're talking about a 3-hour half marathoner, and now you have the 3-hour marathoners meeting before going in the stadium. So it can get a little crazy because you don't want to get in their way, or you will probably get trampled. Other than that, I would do Green Bay if I physically could every single year. Now, they have made a change to the race since I've done it, that you actually go through Lambeau in the middle of the race. Now, that's not going to deter me necessarily from ever doing it again, but I think placing it at the end, no, you don't finish on the field, you finish outside, but it's still a great way to end the race. Now, when it comes to swag, it's actually a really sad story. So like I said, I registered and tried to do it 3 times, succeeded twice. This is, I think, maybe I can look on it. I don't know what year this was. I actually think this was 2015 because I wore it in 2016 to the race. And then we have this doozy, which is a lovely V-neck. And the color, I don't know what you would call it, peach. I've never worn that. And then 2017, again, we went with the V-neck, which is not necessary. And I mean, they're nice shirts. I'm not sure I ever wore them because they fall in the really badly designed for women category. The sad part is the medals. In 2015, or 2014, early 2015, they announced that they were going to be doing a special puzzle 3-year medal. 2015 was the first year of the medal, and I did not get it. So I have the 2016 and the 2017 medals. And the whole idea is when you get them, you can see they're like 3 pieces of a puzzle. 2 of them go together to give me, it's hard to see, curly. I don't have Lombardi because Lombardi's on the piece I'm missing. And then, of course, you have that cheer wall that if you've ever been to Lambeau, you can hop on up there and get your picture taken. And on the back, it's views of Lambeau and different parts of Green Bay, but I don't have the 3rd piece because I didn't earn it in 2015. You know, the cords are nice. They're a little thin, but they say half marathon 2016 and 2017. But I will forever be missing that piece. I did, for like 2 seconds, think about going on and trying to find it, but I didn't earn it. So I don't want it. Anyway, that is the Green Bay Cellcom half marathons versus the Garmin half marathon in Olathe, Kansas. I don't know. Again, every time I describe 2 races, the Olathe just lights me up inside, especially remembering the flying monkeys as the signs to tell you where to go. But it's the flying monkeys versus the feeling you get going through the cheer tunnel and running around Lambeau Field. Okay, so this Tuesday, we're back to a Tuesday episode. I'm going to have, it's with a very old dear friend of mine. His name is Ben, and I waited for I shot his episode a while ago, and we waited because in his episode he talks about he was going to do Chicago and New York this year, and just because we don't want to tempt fate, I held off on releasing the podcast until he had finished New York, which he did. So that's the episode that's going to launch on Tuesday. As always, thank you so much for taking your time to listen to me drone on a little bit. Today is super frustrating as a podcaster, but I cannot thank the guests I have enough because every single one, especially the ones that have tech issues, are just so understanding, and it's appreciated. Thank you for listening. Peace out. Have a safe week. Thank you.